You're here with Fopra Linfrey. Tonight's special guest is Steve Jobs.
Thank you, Fopra. It's good to be here.
He's here to tell us about his new book. I understand you've recently had a biography released. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we conveniently have a copy right here. My new biography is called Steve Jobs, The Man Who Thought Different by Mrs. Karen Blumenthal. So I'll read you a little quote from the inside from my commencement speech at Stanford University, and it'll give you a little taste of who I am. Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. So in this, it gives you sort of a portrait of who I am as a man in the uprise of Apple. I highly recommend it.
What do you think about the book? Did Miss Blumenthal get it right?
You know, I think this is a great book, but my view is a little bit biased. Miss Blumenthal at times may have made me out to be not quite the man I am, a little unsympathetic, you know. I'm just committed to excellence, and if people get my way, you know, I don't have patience for that, and that's how it is. But overall, I think Miss Blumenthal did a good job.
How do you feel this book could apply to the average citizen?
You know, in this day and age, Apple has become so popular that almost everyone is a consumer of Apple products. You see, even I use my own devices. They're that good. And so, you know, I feel that this book really provides a sort of insight and history behind the company and the processes that molded it. That's why I encourage you to read this book.
Me too. There's been some controversy around Apple stealing technology from other companies. How do you respond to this?
First off, I'd like to say, I don't know if I would use the word steal, that's a little harsh, but we do like to recommandeer technology we see potential in from other companies and use it for our own purposes. This is something that's been prevalent in Apple from the very beginning of the company, from Xerox and their GUIs, or graphical user interfaces, to sort of this idea of taking a touchscreen and using it for a phone. And so, I think this is just us doing what humanity has done all along and building on the shoulders of our predecessors in order to progress as a race.
We also understand that working conditions for employees have not been exactly favorable.
Yeah, I don't know if this is more of an Apple thing, but this is something that all companies are pushing towards. You know, especially Apple, we're trying to create something that is more favorable towards the consumer, and we're willing to cut costs for that for workers. So in order to create a more accessible, affordable product, you know, sometimes the workers get the loose ends, and you know, that's something we're looking at, but right now, that's just the situation.
Before we close with Steve Jobs, we're going to take a minute to highlight his struggles and his accomplishments this far. Steve Jobs was born in San Francisco, California on February 24, 1955. His biological parents were both graduate students from the University of Wisconsin and was adopted by a lower middle class couple who named him Stephen Paul Jobs. As a boy, Jobs assisted his adoptive father Paul in working on electronics in the family garage. Paul showed his son how to take apart and reconstruct electronics. Growing up, Jobs was riddled with frustrations over formal schooling. Although he was an intelligent and innovative thinker, Jobs often found himself bored in elementary school, resulting in a challenge for his teachers. Administrators encouraged his parents to let him skip ahead to high school, a proposal they declined. Once in high school, a few years later, Jobs met his future partner, Steve Wozniak, while attending Homestead High School. After graduation, Jobs enrolled at Reed College in Portland, Oregon, but dropped out only 6 months later due to a lack of direction. In 1974, he took a position as a video game designer with Atari, leaving the company 2 months later to travel to India, where he ventured to find spiritual enlightenment by experimenting with psychedelic drugs. 2 years later, at age 21, Jobs and Wozniak started Apple Computer. It was at this point in which he began a new software and hardware enterprise called Next Incorporated, which later became Pixar Animation Studios. Despite Pixar's success, Next Incorporated floundered, and Apple bought the company in 1996 for $429 million. In 1997, Jobs returned as Apple's CEO. Steve Jobs discovered a neuroendocrine tumor in 2003, a rare but operable form of pancreatic cancer in which he refused to operate on for 9 months. Instead, he chose to alter his pesco-vegetarian diet until agreeing to surgery in 2004. Jobs disclosed little about his personal life, including health issues as well as information about his child with girlfriend Chrisanne Brennan when he was 23. In the early 1990s, Jobs met his wife, Laureen Powell, at Stanford Business School and later had 3 children. He passed away on October 5, 2011 at the age of 56 in Palo Alto after battling pancreatic cancer for nearly a decade. Thank you for joining us tonight with the iconic Steve Jobs, the man who thought different. I'm Vopra Linfrey.
And I'm Steve Jobs. Thanks for joining.
Good night.